Hey, so I just finished watching Bill and Ted Face the Music. Actually, it was a double feature of that and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, since I hadn't seen either of those before. First, I feel like I should give a bit of background knowledge on what I felt about the series going in. Uh, Before we go into details on what I felt about the third and final one, because I know that's the new one that everyone wants to hear about. So, the original Bill and Ted movie, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, had been a childhood favorite of mine that I had watched numerous times before. So I think I'm kind of with everyone else on that camp. Bogus Journey has been an odd one for me because I remember trying to watch it when I was younger, and I only got like 5 minutes in because I just hated the dark, mature tone it was going for. But now that I've actually sat down and watched all of it and actually genuinely tried it, it's probably like my new favorite one just because it's way funnier than either of the other two, and it's just so unique and there's nothing else like it in the franchise. And I really appreciated what it was going for and how there isn't really any other movies like it. And yes, while I do see why I originally complained about it being too dark and not quite feeling like the original Bill and Ted, watching the third one attempt to be like the first one and then just discrediting the whole legacy of it just kind of felt like it was poorly handled. I wasn't like a huge fan of the third one. The third one is by far my least favorite. Uh, I really, really liked the first two, and maybe that change of mind will happen with the third one, like it did with the second one for me. Maybe I'll watch it again and be like, no, this is great. I like that all three movies feel very different from one another and very unique. That's kind of nice because you don't usually see that in trilogies. But I do appreciate that. Uh, but there's just a lot of things that I really didn't like about this new Bill and Ted movie. Uh, I think it's one of those movies where watching the trailer, if you like the trailer, then you're gonna like the movie, and if you don't like the trailer, you're not gonna like the movie. Or if you're not sure how you feel about the movie when watching the trailer, you're probably not. You're probably gonna feel the same way watching the movie, because that's how I felt. Don't get me wrong, it's not a complete train wreck. Uh, from my perspective anyways. There there were like occasional laughs for me and like occasional things that I liked. My personal favorite new addition would be the character Dennis, which I won't spoil here. But there were a lot of moments that I thought were kind of weak. Of course, I liked some nostalgic moments. No, I said some, like the having some characters like Rufus and Death pop up again was nice, even though certain circumstances made it difficult. But I feel like there wasn't as much focus on the nostalgic aspects as there were on the kids of the main characters, who, as interested as I was in seeing Samara Weaving be a Bill and Ted movie, I don't think she got the dynamic as well. And the movie just didn't really feel like a Bill and Ted movie to me. Uh, I don't know. It just felt like it was trying to be the first one, and it just couldn't quite match the personality that both those films had. Sure, one of them's like a lighter shade of Bill and Ted and a darker shade of Bill and Ted, but both of them feel like the same characters. But then when you see them and they're much, 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 much older and they're trying to play the same characters, I don't know. Something just feels really off about that to me. And I get that's supposed to be that's the funny part of it, according to the other people I watched it with that love the movie. Because yes, I know there are other people that love the movie, but I just couldn't get into it. The plot was also just a direct rehash of the first one, and I found the plot really cheap and that it discredited the first movie. Like, the first movie was about how Bill and Ted were the legends that saved the future, which was all one big joke, you know? I got that joke in the first movie. But then in the third movie, they pull a cheap, uh, wholesome note where it's, oh no, it's not Bill and Ted that saved the universe. It was their family that saved it. And it's like, but you don't really see in the first movie their daughters being like worshipped as a joke in the future along with the parents. It just feels like a weird retcon that doesn't quite work and only serves to add more plot holes and confuse me. That's another thing. The whole third movie was extremely confusing to me. I could not figure out what was happening for the life of me. So many scenes like started and ended way too quick that I didn't have enough time to process them. The whole movie feels super rushed. Like the second movie, which I watched right before it, felt way longer than the third one. And I mean that in a good way. It was only a couple minutes longer, but it definitely took its time exploring all these things that the first movie didn't. And it was a lot of fun. It felt way more fleshed out. So it definitely didn't help that I was watching a way better Bill and Ted movie right before it that feels like in the spirit of Bill and Ted, even if it's a much more blackly comic Bill and Ted. And this one's trying, no, I say trying, to return back to the lighter roots. Um, but yeah, it just doesn't work for me. uh I get the basic plot, but there were like some scenes where I just didn't understand like either some of the jokes or the plot elements, and I felt like there were moments that were supposed to be funny but just didn't come off that way because like other people were laughing and I was like, I don't get what's supposed to be funny about this scene, but whatever. So I don't know, just for me it didn't like stick the landing because for me the first two movies are extremely funny and extremely entertaining. The first two are just so thoroughly entertaining of classics, but the third one just misses the mark. uh like I said, it's very uneven. It's not bad film by any means. It's just okay. Uh just kind of mediocre. So yeah, that being said, it is nice to see Bill and Ted back. But I was just very underwhelmed after all the praise I'd heard for this one. And I was hoping that it could recapture the magic of the first two, and it just couldn't, so that was sad. There's a lot of franchise conclusions that have been coming out this year and last year that have been extremely underwhelming to me, that have just been leaving me feeling dissatisfied and just completely disappointed. And like, I don't know, there's like another hole in me afterwards, which is dramatic, a dramatic way to put it. But I don't know, it just feels like every time after I finish one of these, it feels like there's something wrong with me afterwards. Like, you know? uh yeah, it just like sucks when it sucks, you know? Yeah, this one I'd probably give, I don't know, what would be fair? Because it didn't completely suck, but I don't want to give it a rating that says it was good either. I think like a 6 or a 7 would be fair. Uh, I guess like maybe if I tried watching it on its own, I would probably like it better because I've seen like much more boring movies where I'm like not even able to finish it. So I guess I'll go for a 7. It's just compared to the first two, which I think I gave the first two nines. It's such a disappointment. Yeah. So I'll see you in the next video, and if you want to check it out from Hein like the trailers, you'll probably like this one too. Like I said, I'm in the minority on this one. And I know that a lot of people found the second one to be too dark. I did too. And it didn't feel like Bill and Ted, that one either, to me, until I rewatched it and realized
It kind of does.